Welcome to the Nevin Shapiro Show. I'm filling in for Mike Torado. He's been kidnapped by the LSU fan base, so I'm filling in. So let's get into the action. What's up, Nev?
How you doing?
Good to see you live, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're protected custody here, hiding from the LSU fan faithful.
Hey, man, I got nothing but love for the Bayou, man. Just as it relates to a football team for one season, I'm going to stand on business, and I'm going to rep what it is.
I mean, the engagement you're getting on those videos is incredible. So it is a very debatable topic. And, you know, I thought the 2019 team was better than the 2001 Hurricanes team. But when you really break it down the way you've broken it down, I've changed my position on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think all it takes is a real college football fan with any sense of normalcy to see this. Like, what are we talking about? Man, LSU was a hellified offense. Exciting, man. I love Joe Burrow as a quarterback. I really do. I'm a big fan of his.
Do you really love him?
Yeah.
So you were making fun of him.
Well, that's just because, you know, it's for the spoof. You know, it's for clicks and likes and controversy and engagement. But the truth of the matter is, I think we'd blast his shit all over the yard.
And there's a real good point that you make. It's two different eras. You were allowed to be more physical back then. And I think, these receivers would have had a tough time getting off the line, with a Sean Taylor, Antrell Rowe. You know, you got Ed Reed back there. It would have been tough.
I think, you know, if you're a football fan, a knowledgeable football fan, you realize how the rules have changed in the mid-2000s with the bump and the holding and the tug of war with the receivers. That's why guys like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and you can go on with a whole bunch of other scatter type receivers, possession type, Adam Thielen, maybe he's not a great example, but you know what I'm saying. These receivers would have never had a chance to have a career if not for these rule changes. It just wasn't how the game was built to be played, right? And
we gotta change that ring, man.
Oh fuck, dude! I hate that fucking ring, man.
My God,
like it makes me think of like fucking Fredo.
I'm not even gonna edit this.
Yeah, we gotta take him out of the lake and just fucking take him fishing and dump him.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. Yeah, man, it's just two different eras of football. I listen. I still think Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are,
agreed,
out of this planet type receivers.
They're fucking great receivers. They're great NFL receivers, and they were great college receivers too, at least for that season. And no one says that. But it's not a 4 players against one team comparison. People are looking at 60 points a game and 50 points a game, and it was sexy ball, man. It was. It was sexy, and it was fun to watch, and I really cheered hard for them, and I really enjoyed watching them. But let's just be practical and pragmatic and smart. Interview 32 NFL scouts to a man. They could be anonymous or not, and say, 2001 Miami, 2019, what do you see? And you got to look at what these guys did next level. It's unprecedented, and it's not even a comparison. It's not even a comparison. It's not even a comparison. Nobody can compete against that. And I'm sure there's some really good recent Bama teams that got some great talent in the league. But no, there's just not a team with the production that 2001 Miami team had next level. And they were drafted suggesting they were going to be like that next level.
Right. No, I agree with you. You've made some valid points. And when the first time we met, I brought up this LSU subject, and you were ready for me.
I'm ready for anybody. I don't care who you put in front of me.
Yeah, but you pointed out a lot of things that have opened up my eyes, and the University of Miami 2001 team is better.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. And you just it took you a while, but you got here.
Yeah.
And just let's be real.
Absolutely.
Let's be real, man.
Absolutely.
That team's like, just read the names. When I read the names, like, I knew it, but like when I read the names and I actually heard myself reading the names, what are you comparing?
Right.
You're not comparing apples to apples. Right. It's just not. It's not a fair comparison. And LSU's more recent, but had Miami been the more recent team, they wouldn't have had the history that they inevitably showed they had.
Agreed.
By playing, two 15, 18 years
Years
earlier.
ago, yeah, no, I completely agree. So changing topics, article came out today by Pete Thamel and Dan Wetzel on NIL. You were the subject of the article. A lot of things. The NCAA is trying to now backpedal and bring in certain guardrails. I saw a third-party company is going to come in to start doing auditing of these transactions with the players. Do you think that's going to solve this issue that's going on right now with the NIL?
No. I think it's just going to make it's like cat and mouse. You know, someone comes up with a rule to stop progress, and then where the progress is being stopped, you come up with a move to counter that. You know, and no, I think these guys they have to do something. The NCAA, you know my position on them, jokers, just not really in it for the best interest of the. I don't want to call them student athletes anymore. Not in the best interest of the athletes, because are they really students or are they professionals now? And yeah, they go to school because that's like they have to go to school in order to be a student athlete. And I just don't see this changing the tide, stemming the tide. It looks like an effort on behalf of the NCAA, which I guess I'll applaud them for. But all they had to do is listen to me 14 years ago,
Right.
and we wouldn't be in this situation of like just whatever goes is. And it's stupid.
So how did they come up with this number of $20.5 million cap? Like, where do they come up with this number?
I don't think they know how they came up with this number. If you want to know, they probably used an accounting firm like a Deloitte and
Because
Touche.
see, like in the NFL, you have a collective bargaining agreement. The players have to agree with the owners, and then you create the cap. But who agrees on the 20?
And that's why, Andy, I've been standing. That's why I've been standing on this platform for I don't know how long, saying who's representing the players' interest. Who? Not the NCAA. I can tell you that. Right? Not the NCAA. So I think the NCAA needs their own union per se. I know you can't pay the player. You can't make them employers. There's labor laws and other things that would intervene in that. But there's got to be some kind of joint agreement where there's like a partnership and you have law firms that are selected. How that process works out, I don't have the exact answer, but someone's got to represent the players' interests because it's a one-sided negotiation now, and it's not your parents' NCAA anymore or my parents' NCAA anymore. We're in the new world of big business, and
Yeah, it's gonna muddy the waters even deeper because the shenanigans is still gonna go on, right? Like,
the litigation has only just begun.
right.
Okay, everyone's going to be in court. If you're an attorney coming and you're a young attorney, you want to learn as much as you can about the NIL laws because there is a marketplace for you between now and forever.
So I think the problem is twofold. Also, I think the transfer portal as well is an issue. You got 1,400 college basketball players in the transfer portal right now.
Yeah.
From what I read, I don't know if that's accurate,
And
but that's what I read. Yeah.
and probably 1,000 of them don't have a home.
How is that possible in a sport where you only have 15 to 20 man roster? You got 1,400 players, and there goes the fucking ring again.
Yo, did you bring this guy?
Oh my God.
Is this guy from Lambda Lambda Lambda?
Oh my God.
I heard that ringtone in 1970. There weren't even cell phones. Was that the Batman? Was that the Batman intro?
Oh my God. So Fredo and his interruption again. But anyways, back to, I don't even know how there's 1,400 basketball players in the transfer portal. How crazy is that?
Hey, can you move my car? What were you saying?
There's 1,400 basketball players in the transfer portal, supposedly.
Oh man, this guy got me frazzled with that rave.
Yeah, we gotta do something. We got you to change the phone. It was a Metro piece of shit. Now you got a Galaxy. Now we gotta change the ring. Come on.
I've always had the Galaxy.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think the transfer portal is just as big as a problem as the NIL, and they
Yeah.
got to do something about that as well.
Well,
What
they
they've
lost-
created.
They lost control of the environment because they didn't control the environment. Right? The courts decided that for the NCAA. Otherwise, do you think the kids would be getting paid today? I can assure you the answer is no. They would not. And so God bless any 18-year-old running around with a Lamborghini and a new Audi for his mom, right?
Just don't park it in South Miami though.
Yeah,
down here.
yeah, you know, or check in before you go,
Right.
and you know the right people.
Right.
But it's listen. This is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what it is. I mean, they caveat emptor, buyer beware. They got what they bought, and they tried to oppress the movement. And instead of trying to help the movement, they were greedy, and now they're getting it.
So do you think they addressed the transfer portal situation like the NCAA? Because I think that's just as big of an issue as the whole NIL money thing.
Like,
I think if you put parameters and you put rules behind the transfer portal, it stops a lot of this convolution that's going on with the NIL.
it'll get down to contracts, Andy. And what I mean by that is it's going to have to be a contract within the NIL compensation, and it's going to have to, there has to be interpretation with regards to the transfer portal. If you transfer, there's got to be some kind of stipulation towards the monies you're receiving. And it's got to be handled by maybe a receivership or an escrow agent that works on both behalf of the NCAA and the athletes, a neutral party. Because it's just never, like, my personal example is Jalen Rashada, the quarterback who initially verbally committed to Miami, then he went to Florida. Florida didn't pay him. Who knows what the real story was there? Who knows? But this kid, then he goes to Arizona State, then he's at Georgia. He don't even know where he is. Neither do I, for that matter. And at this point in time, like, is he even playing football? And that's what happens, and that's a result of the transfer portal, and it's also a result of unsanctioned NIL situations, because the kid didn't get paid, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left.
Yeah, I mean, I know of a situation at Florida State where the kid signed with them, big-time player, signed with them, didn't really get on the field. You know, following year, FSU pulled the money. No contract. They just pulled the money. And it's just crazy to me that, you know, both sides have to be protected. The player needs to be protected, but the school needs to be protected as well.
What about here's a curveball that I know you didn't see coming. What about pulling the money from the coaches for non-performance? Or should we leave that for another day?
That's a whole episode in its own.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Those guys are guaranteed.
Don't you get slapped on the wrist if you don't perform at work?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just saying.
Well, they get buyouts for millions and millions of dollars, and they hold programs, hostage because they don't want to fire them because they don't have the money to fire them.
Let me defend the players now. Shouldn't the coaches be held accountable for transfer portal moves? I see this coach from Maryland. As soon as they lost Maryland, he was on the first bus out.
Yep. Yeah. Situation, man. Like, you know, we've spoken about this in the past, and we'll close it out with this. But, you know, it's sad what's happened to college athletics because it was the purest type of sports. I mean, you had your things. You had the Nevin Shapiros running around, the yacht parties, the this and the that. But it's not this. This is messy, man. This is just not good for college football. It's not good for college basketball. It's just not good for college athletics. So where do we go from here? Where do we protect the sanctity of this sport?
It needs the sport needs a massive overhaul as far as regulatory control and interpretation of the rules. I don't think anyone even knows what the rules or laws are. That's why court situations are taking place, and it's only just begun, especially now with this new money that's coming in, or this new agreement, and it's going to kill all the other litigation because it becomes like a cumulative settlement,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, one correction is there were no other yacht parties like mine.
Sure about that?
I'm confident. Let's take a poll on that.
We should take a poll.
I mean, I'd like you to get whoever...
We should.
You know.
We should take a poll on
Yeah.
that. You know, here's the other thought I have in closing. You know, you got corporations really heavily involved now in college athletics. You're talking about a $5 billion, $5 to $10 billion, wherever you read, that college football pulls in revenue. Do you think they really care? I don't think they care that the game is being ruined because of the amount of money that's being made.
The answer is no, they don't care. And to go further with your point, people are going to still be watching.
Agreed.
whether the University of Miami is spending $25 million or Ohio State spending $40 million or whoever's spending whatever amount of money, I promise you there won't be an empty eye on that TV.
I'll tell you, that tells you how great the sport is, right?
It is.
That I
And
can overcome that.
I wouldn't care how much the salary cap became. I'm going to be tuned in.
Agreed. I mean, you and I had talked about this. Last year was probably the greatest season ever assembled.
Listen,
Ever.
how could you handicap that field?
No,
It went
you
down
couldn't.
to the last vote.
Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
It was the Alabama, Miami, SMU getting it, whoever got in, and whatever it was.
Clemson backdooring
Yeah,
into the
Clemson
ACC
backdooring.
championship.
Man, the drama is unparalleled.
It's unparalleled. Yeah, I agree. We'll see what we will see what would happen. But I encourage everybody to read that article because you're going to get educated on a lot of stuff that Nevin's saying about the NIL and the NCAA, and it's just a really well written article. So everyone, just check it out. And anything else you want to say in closing?
In regards to that article, I'm not going to sit here pumping my chest or beating my chest, but let me just say this: like when everyone was saying, "Oh, this guy's lying. He don't know what the fuck he's talking about," this and that. Yeah, here you are, 14 years later, with what I was yelling, I was yelling wolf, but no one was listening. And that's what they get, and tough shit. And I hope the athletes take as much money as they can take and get everybody, and that's it. And they did this to themselves, the NCAA, and whatever the kids get in today's market, right? Because today's price isn't yesterday's price.
Correct.
And whatever the kids get, it pales in comparison to how much the NCAA pimped them for so many years.
Talking about that word pimping, I mean, we can go on and on with this conversation, but I want to close with this. They're getting pimped by these handlers too. Taking 20, I've heard 30% on some of these deals, and these kids are not educated, the parents are not educated, and it's just now the kids are being pimped on the other side.
Oh, well, you handle my social media along with, a couple of our guys, and you see what I see, or actually, you see what I don't even see, and then you bring it to my attention. And, it's just the world we live in, and that's today's society, and I really believe the next salary cap is going to be Pop Warner.
And you're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong about that.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. I know a local stud athlete / running back who makes more money than one of my deadbeat friends.
Wow.
And he's 8.
That's crazy. Well, I heard of a quarterback on a Pop Warner team making $10,000 down here. It's just crazy. And
Yeah.
facts. I mean, I heard it from a really good buddy of mine that's a coach and told me, actually my best friend, and he told me, he said, hey, they paid that kid $10,000.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
And you know what's funny about that? He could have gotten a better deal.
Well, with that, we're going to close. Thank you for allowing me to fill in. Hopefully we can find Mike.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not on the bottom of some bayou.
Yeah. Mike is tied to a chair at Cafe Du Monde with a beignet stuck in his mouth and tape over the beignet.
Well, hopefully we get Mike. He does a really, really good job on your show, man. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm just happy I was able to fill in.
Well, listen, the one thing you can do for that guy is at least get him a new Miami hat.
We have to do something about that.
Please.
He sent me a picture the other day. I'm just going to come out with it. It was midnight, and I asked him, what are you wearing right now? And he had University of Miami pajamas. Thoughts?
I sleep in the nude.
We out.